this podcast for about 7 years, used to travel all over with experts, motivating. That's what life is about. If we can get out of our head, there is nothing that's going to stop us. What we dream of right now, the way that we're going to get what we truly want is to get out of our way. And when we get out of our way, that means like, I want this type of car. All of a sudden, you can start seeing things open for you of how to get exactly what you want, the career you want, the money that you want, the people that you want to work with. The only thing that's stopping you is your mindset. This show is Fresh Talks Global Vision, focusing on mindset. And I brought Dr. Clearfield in today because this guy just like, I'm so interested in some of the stories he tells. Actually, right now we were just talking about art and laughing about it in the green room. But I really love his attention to detail in his industry and what he's learning about different drugs that he uses to help people with losing weight. But it's never just about the exterior losing weight. It's like we're dealing with chronic disease, we're dealing with chronic issues. You need to lose weight, but I'm not going to look at you just on the scale. I need to really understand. And so he uses different equipment and also his insights that he's been working with for many, many years. He has even stories about in the 70s that I do want him to start talking about when we start kicking this off, that I really want to share with you, because the beginning of me understanding that I wanted to interview him in Mindset Matters. So ready, set, go. Let's get it rocking. Dr. Clearfield, welcome in.
Thank you, Arthur.
Oh, you know what? I'm clapping because I'm so used to a live audience. So I mean, you deserve it, my friend. I'm serious. Like, I know that I'm getting to know you, and you're out there speaking and doing your thing. You're sharing with people about what you do, and you talk about the products and what you use. But today, I really want to get to know you more. And so, are you ready for that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Open book here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ask away. My first question, and I'm just kind of creating this because I know there's so many questions that people would have about understanding all the work that you do. What's the first reason why you came in to this industry that really motivated you and excited you? I was just talking about dreams and like looking for the future and what you really wanted. What was the reason that you came in this industry?
Well, when you say this industry, so we've gone from what I call the white bread medical doctor insurance-based model to we do chronic disease management, we do anti-aging medicine, we do some aesthetics, and our focus really is on hormone optimization. And what the real motivation was, the two motivations. One, I hated being a doctor. I mean, I just hated it. Back when I actually, made the turn, which almost 25 years ago, there wasn't Uber, but if there was at the time, I'd probably be an Uber driver now if I hadn't sort of, fallen into this. Number two was that I had a rather stormy matrimonial separation. We'll just leave it at that. That took more than 7 years to finally get through. And by the time I got through it,
wow,
now I was in my mid 40s and I didn't feel good. I was tired. I was all of a sudden, I was always a skinny little kid. And then all of a sudden, I turned 42. Now all I had to do was look at a piece of bread and I gained weight. And I didn't really care about anything. I didn't care about the way I looked. You see it a lot in the medical doctor industry. You go in to see a doctor and he weighs 300 pounds and he's telling you got to lose weight. It's kind of a hypocritical thing.
Yeah.
I accidentally went to. So I was pretty much dead broke by the time the marital separation was done. It was a very fair split. The matrimonial partner got half and the lawyers got the other half.
Oh,
And I was living in Northeast Pennsylvania. And if you've ever been in the winter there, by March, if you haven't had a little bit of a break, you're kind of out of your mind from the cold. And I got a little card in the mail. It said Skills Workshop, Disney World. And I figured I didn't, you know what? I didn't have $500 left. And I borrowed, I just got a credit card and I just borrowed it and I went and I learned two skills. One was putting testosterone hormone implants in men. I'd never heard of that. And this was in 2003. And this other quirky thing where we took the solution and we shot it in people's faces and their wrinkles went away, which nobody had heard of. I came home and I had a friend who was a plastic surgeon. And I said, you ever heard of this stuff? And he said he hadn't either. And it was Botox. And it had been released had been FDA approved about 4 or 5 months before I went to this workshop. So I was actually the first person in Northeast Pennsylvania to do Botox, and we got almost twice as much then, and it cost half as much as we do now. But now here, and where I am in Reno, from where I am down McCarran Boulevard to Lowe's, there must be 30 people doing it. So, so it's a whole different story. But that's kind of was how it started. It started with myself. Like I said, I wasn't feeling well. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't really like myself. My marriage had broken up. My kids had grown up and moved away. The dog had died, and I didn't, so I'd go to work during the daytime and go to the gym for an hour, and then what? So,
I like that you were going to the gym, Dr. Clearfield. Okay, so
like I said, I did do that.
yeah, but, and then from there, where was the change where you really started noticing yourself? Like you knew that there had to be a change to start liking yourself. So I'm thinking you like yourself now. I'm hoping at this point.
I'm okay. I'm okay. At times not, but I'm okay. For the most part.
And I hear a lot of truth with how you speak too. So I really appreciate that. My question for you is, I really like this story. I think this is a great place to go because I have some questions for you as a doctor and what you're doing. Can you share that story about in the early 70s and we were dealing with heart attacks and the protocol at that time and what you were learning to understand about what you could do maybe differently?
Mm-hmm. So I was in medical school at the time. And, even back then I had these stirrings of these people are telling us stuff that just doesn't seem quite so. There was a husband and wife team. They were and I was first year of medical school is like you get basic sciences and things like that. And they were the biochemistry department. I won't mention their last name, but we used to call them Ma and Pa. These are our teachers, and Pa had a heart attack and ended up in the hospital. And so we would go visit them. We became friends with them. I went to school in Iowa. It was a small town, and it wasn't like a big university medical center. And they told him he had to stay in bed. He couldn't get out of bed for 6 weeks, and they were feeding him all sorts of pretty white bread, and even back then I said this just doesn't seem right. There weren't a whole lot of there was a couple of medications, but there really weren't the drugs we had then. I'm trying to remember. I think the first heart transplant was in 1969. I think that they really weren't doing this was like 1975. They really weren't doing stents and all of the somebody has chest pain, they go in and they image them and they do all the whatever the bypasses, and they weren't doing any bypasses or anything then, that's for sure. Anyway, basically they told him to stay in bed and that's all he could do, and they were giving him some medication, and we'd go visit him every couple of days, and then they sent him home, and they told him he couldn't even go out for a walk. If he went out for a walk, it would kill him. And he's getting weaker and weaker, and he's gaining weight, and I said, come on, let's go for a walk. They said, no, they told me I'll die. I said, well, it looks like you're dying now. So And he had another heart attack about a year later, and he died.
Okay.
And I,
Oh,
you know, that I didn't know. I didn't know. Well, we didn't know then what we know now, and I didn't know anything because I was in my first year of medical school, and but I knew that didn't seem quite right.
yeah.
And then I saw I got a paper or documentary. I can't remember. I think it might have even been a TV show. I think it was maybe 60 Minutes, and there was this guy on there testifying in front of Congress about heart disease,
Uh-huh.
and he had studied it, and um, he studied Eastern Europe during World War II, where there was a lot of famine and deprivation, and
Mhm.
the incidence of heart disease went way down during that time. And it was he was one of the first. His name was Nathan Pritikin, and he was one of the first to come up with the idea that saturated fats, so animal meat fats, was a cause of heart disease. He got a lot of things right. He got some things wrong. He
Mhm.
forgot about the whole person, but he did get that right. And so
Yeah.
we had so the school I went to was 3 years. We went continuously, but we had a month off in June. And the month off in June, you weren't supposed to be off. You were supposed to be doing some sort of clinical work, some sort of shadowing somebody. So at first, I
Mhm.
thought I wanted to be a pediatrician, and that lasted 2 days. But it wasn't so much the kids. When the kids were sick, that wasn't so great. But the parents, I couldn't stand, so that was out.
Yeah.
So I found out that the Pritikins had bought a hotel in Santa Monica, and they opened a clinic, and then it was just for men. And so I went there as just volunteer. That was my thing, and we would get, and it was they put ads in the newspapers in the Los Angeles area. Did you have a heart attack? Have you been told to go home? There's nothing we can do for you. Come talk to us.
Mhm.
And guys were in not great. I mean, they were all bad shape. And slowly, we made them get out of bed. We made them walk. Some of them could only walk from the bed to the door and back before they started getting chest pain. But then the next day they went from the bed to the front door, and then the next day they went from to the outside. And we
Mhm.
would get them, after a week or two, we get them going a quarter of a mile, a half a mile, and he put them on. It was really terrible, a 10% low fat diet, which is pretty not sustainable. And
Yeah.
there are things wrong with that, but they half of them got better, half of them didn't. But the success rate sitting in bed was 2%. Now we're
Yeah.
up to 50%. And then of course he got Pritikin got lambasted because he wasn't a doctor, he was an engineer. And so what did he know? And they
Right.
they got involved in front of Congress and made fun of again. And first it's they make fun of you, then they
Yeah.
try to shut you down, then you become admired. So
Yeah. Exactly. Like on the
that was kind of
forefront.
my first exposure to um, alternative medicine.
I
Um,
have a question about this? As you were doing this, this must have been like awakening for you because going through school, you're like, hey, this doesn't. Some of this stuff doesn't
yeah,
feel right.
well, yeah,
So was that the beginning of you starting to feel
that
like,
was that was that was kind of the beginning, and then
yeah,
then all of a sudden, low fat diets became the craze, and that became the watchword.
yeah,
Um, but there was this fallout from that.
yeah,
And if you follow, so I've written some papers on what that and all. If you follow, about by 1984, 1985, the low fat diet that was it. That was the
I
way
was
to go.
all in.
Yeah, that was all in, and 6 to 11 servings of breads and carbohydrates was the thing, and just a drop of fat, if any. um, and you weren't supposed to have any cholesterol, forgetting the fact that 60% of your brain is made from cholesterol,
Right.
and cholesterol is what makes all the hormones. Forgot all about that part of it. um, and so that became all the rage. And if you follow the chart, and I have one somewhere, um, about 15% of the U.S. United States adult population over the age of 50 in 1985 was considered to be obese. By that was in 1985. By the year 2000, it was up to 70%. And if
Wow.
you follow the low fat diet recommendations and the obesity charts, they track exactly.
And
So
so,
a
Dr.
couple
Clifford,
things got left out.
I want to go with something here. What I keep hearing this theme, and because this really is about. I love hearing your experiences because I'm finding that you're attracted to these things that are like, you're right, this makes more sense. Like this, you were talking about the brain and how the brain is made of cholesterol, and we're telling people to cut it off. But while we were going through that, you're like, this is not right. So as this was going along, is this where you started realizing that I just feel like there's some change that you've done in the industry, or you've been part of these things, you've been attracted to those things, and how how has that changed for you? Because you run a clinic now, and the things that I see that you do, I'm going to ask a question in a little bit. The things that you do, you're always seeking for that new stuff when things are like current right here and now. You're kind of on the cutting edge kind of a vision
Yeah,
because you go,
well,
here,
you know,
right, this is working, but this and that isn't working. And I can see how that change needs to happen. It seems like you get attracted to that and move towards those things.
I've always been pretty good at connecting dots,
Hmm.
and and connecting dots, is if and some of it is I've been doing this for 40 some years, so some of it is experience. Some of it was, I was kind of probably a dumb kid at times. I always remember it was about 19. I used to work ERs, and I had a small private practice around 1985, 86. One of my patients, she was 85 years old at the time, showed up in the ER one morning, short of breath, and she was basically ready to what we call code. She was going to go flat line, and so I was an ER doctor too for a little while. We intubated her and we did all of that. And she's 85 years old. That was pretty standard procedure by then. Although she'd been in pretty good shape, but in less than an hour, she actually pulled the tube out, said, "I feel fine. I'm going. I want to go home." That's usually you don't see that, right?
Yeah.
The very next day, 6 o'clock in the morning, she's back in the ER. The same thing, same thing. Can't
Yeah.
breathe. Oxygen is low. Heart rate is rapid. She's going to code again. We did the same thing again, and then again in an hour, it all cleared up. Well, 85 years old. That's usually not the thing. So I said did you get something new? Is there something at home? Did you get a cat or something? I mean, right? And she goes, no, no,
Wow.
no. And I was, I probably wouldn't do this today. I said, I'm gonna come over after I'm done working. Let me look around. Right. I went to her house. I'm looking around, and I go in her bedroom, and she has brand new sheets and pillowcases and blanket, and they're down. So I picked the pillow up, and I said, "Here, breathe." I put it right into her face. I said, "Here, breathe this." And she starts coughing and hacking. Right? She was allergic to the down feathers. So I said, "Let's get rid of these and see what happens." I said, "Where are the old pillows?" So she hadn't thrown them out yet. So she calls me the
Wow.
next day. I said, "Well, how are you?" She goes, "Well, I'm fine." So I said, maybe you should stay away from the down feathers and whatnot. So nobody ever taught me that. From that day on, when somebody, I don't know, I go home and I'm coughing and I'm sneezing. I said,
Yeah.
the first question, what kind of pillows do you have? What kind of blankets do you have? Now nobody ever taught me that. I don't think you'll see that in any book anywhere. But
Right.
you'd be surprised how often that happens. I probably
Well,
say I'd say not now because I have a whole different practice, but back then, at least once a month, at least,
and
sometimes even more.
I see how this helps your clinic. And I think there's more of your patients that you currently have that this conversation is really important, is that you're seeing things in different angles. Because I know that we just get so busy and people are in and out and you're doing your great stuff. But I find that this conversation is something that we don't get to hear enough of. I'm in the wellness area. I'm talking about this stuff all the time, but when you are trained to do things certain ways, and then you're going and just doing this creative stuff of like, here, there has to be something here. It's not just inside her body and her body's
Well,
malfunctioning because the
there's still that
body,
consciousness that someone's going to go complain and say you're outside of the standard of care. So
right?
it does happen once in a while. Never from patients. It's only other doctors that are usually jealous.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I have a question for Michelle because what I'm learning again, everyone from Fresh Talks Global Vision, we're talking about mindset here. I brought Michelle in too because I'm like, I hear Dr. Clearfield lecturing all the time, talking about some great stuff, talking about his history. But what I'm learning is that he is good at saying some good things about him. But I was with Michelle and Dr. Clearfield. He's doing a support group right now for weight loss. You definitely need to go check that out. I'll put the links in here to make sure that you know how to get to him too. Because listen to this fabulous information. But I heard Michelle talking about all these great things about Dr. Clearfield, and I wanted to make sure she was here too, so we can like give some like extra testimony of like, you really do, if you're in Reno, but also the support group is virtual, it's all over the world, and we get to get all over the world with YouTube and the stuff that we're doing and the people we work with. Michelle, so can you share a story or just add on to what you've learned about who Dr. Clearfield is and why you've been doing work with him and how you appreciate and respect him?
Well, one of the biggest things gets to the root of the problem.
Say it again.
He gets to the root of the problem.
Oh, you know what? You are doubling up because of your two video here. So can you exit out and come back in? And then I want to ask you that question again.
Okay.
Okay. So what Michelle is exiting right now, so we can keep going. That's what live video is. But I'm gonna have Dr. Clearfield, I'm gonna have you speak about, oh, Michelle, you're here only one. Okay, good. Michelle, so he gets the root of things. And what are you noticing about that you've seen throughout the years that you've been around him, what you're doing?
Well, I think the biggest thing is he definitely, in my instance, I found out I had chronic, what was it that I had, Dr. Clearfield, that nobody else came? Oh, Epstein-Barr. That's why I was still tired. So, I mean, he does these blood reports on each patient and finds out so many different things that they never know what's wrong with them. And that's the best, his claim to fame is he definitely gets, people who they're tired and all of a sudden they find out they have Hashimoto's or a low thyroid and they haven't been properly medicated. Mm-hmm. And women that are going through menopause, there's solutions for them. But the biggest part that I love about him, every patient I send him, they get better. Mm. That's the hugest thing.
Can you share about the support group that Dr. Clearfield is doing right now? See, we can get this out of Dr. Clearfield, not this good juice, because this is really important stuff that everybody needs to really understand where you really want to go and have a good bedside manner and being able to feel like you're being treated well and all that. With the support group, what do you feel that Dr. Clearfield is really trying to do to reach out to those people with the weight loss group? Well, I think some of the gyms that he's doing.
Yeah, one of the biggest things is, he talks about the semaglutide and how it affects everybody. They find out that it lowers their heart disease, it lowers their inflammation, things that can lead to diseases. Mm-hmm. That's a big, powerful part. And he also is an expert in the semaglutide and the trizipatide. I think he's probably one of the first persons in town that had the product. And he's, up and coming on a new one that's coming out. So he's probably the most educated person that we have that I've seen in the state that's been doing the program. And that's why we kind of did the support group, because people don't know how to maintain their weight. They don't know what diet to do. They need mindset, thing. But clinically, he answers all their questions every time, which is huge.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing, Michelle, something that Dr. Clearfield was talking about at the beginning is that he's really like questioning things and just very curious. And so when, so I could see him, what you're saying, this statement about him knowing more, like right now, like in your area and what's going on, because he's in the forefront of stuff. So when he's using something that he's already like kind of curious, like how does this affect somebody? And so Dr. Clearfield, I want to ask you this question. When we were in the support group the other day, you were talking about this weight loss drug that you have, and this is where I really want to finish this off. You were sharing with, hey, we know that this drug is very good, but you also get sick from it. And the protocol, you didn't say protocol, but what I do is I make sure it's not going to make you hopefully as sick, or maybe you can get through it quicker. And you were talking about the steps. Can you share that, Dr. Clearfield? I really respect that of you.
So we go to those of your audience who are of a certain age will remember Bing Crosby. Remember Bing Crosby?
I think we all do. If you don't, then there's something wrong with you.
sang White Christmas. Well, he had another song, accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we kind of go by the Bing Crosby school of medicine. So these medications, they absolutely do work. They've actually been around in one form or another since 2005. They're not all that new. At least the class of medications. They started out in pill form, then they were an everyday shot, and then they've been sort of altered so that they're a weekly shot. And every couple of years, another version of it comes out that's a little bit more refined and a little bit more refined. And it was noted early on that there was a weight loss component with these. Their GLP-1s is the class of medications. There was a weight loss component to it. What they do is they actually stimulate a hormone in your brain that tells your brain you're not hungry, and it's quite effective. It works really well. That's the positive. The negative is that there is a high incidence of side effects, particularly nausea and vomiting, and infects almost up to half the patients that use it. It was originally developed for diabetes, and what it does is if you cut down on your intake, your blood sugars are going to go down. Fortunately, one thing we found is that it doesn't. If your blood sugars are normal, it doesn't seem to affect it. So we've not seen anybody that I know of in our patients that have had hypoglycemic, they passed out because their blood sugars were too low. I've not seen that at all. Maybe it's happened, but it's not come to my attention. Mm-hmm. So we want to keep what's good, but 1 in 2 patients can't take it, and they're extremely expensive. I mean, they were $1,500 a month. They're a little bit less now. You can get a little bit of a discount on it. Sometimes insurances will pay for it, but you really need a diagnosis of diabetes. They've come out, the companies who make it have come out with other versions of it. It's basically the same thing, different dose, different concentrations, called it something else, but it's the same. It's the same medication with the same side effects. And in fact, it's a bit dose dependent. The higher the dose, the more the higher the incidence of these side effects. And we're talking about these patients. They'll use it once. It's a sort of a weekly dose. In 3 or 4 days, they'll be so sick they won't take it again. So we were able to get the generic salts from it, and we started doing different things. So we started microdosing. So instead of 1 big dose a week, we started doing little tiny doses. We started out at 7 days a week, and we learned a few things along the way. I was my first guinea pig. And we found out that if you use it continuously for a while in mini doses, you get used to it, you build up antibodies, and it stops working. So the stuff doesn't work on me anymore. And we started using these things about 3 years. It's coming up on 3 years now. So we were just coming out of COVID. So we all had the COVID-19 weight to lose. So I was my first guinea pig, and I did quite well. I did okay. So then we started adding in some additives. So we tried a lot of different things, and we came up with Vitamin B6 was one, which is those of you who are out there that if you're pregnant and you get morning sickness, that's the exact that's what's used to combat morning sickness. So we added that. That worked quite nicely. We added another component called BPC 157, which is a peptide. It came from the gastric juices of dogs. It was actually discovered by Pavlov. You remember Pavlov and the dog experiment in 1904. He didn't quite know what it was, but they actually used it for dyspepsia and ulcers and heartburn in Tsarist Russia. And he got it. He actually purified it from the gastric juices of dogs. Don't ask me how they got it. I don't really know. But I just know the history of it. It was purified in 1993, and then we actually put it in our solution. And we've been using this stuff for 20 years, and it worked great. And then all of a sudden, a year ago, the FDA decided that it was no good, and they made us take it out for no reason. They came up with some bogus reasons that were I've never seen any issues with it. So we had to take it out. So we needed another substitute. And then one night, right after this, I went to a Japanese restaurant, and they give you the little ginger slices.
Yeah.
Right. Well, ginger is very good for settling the stomach. So, and I was still doing it myself, and so I had given myself the shot, and I would get a little queasy from, again, even the microdose, and I ate one of the ginger slices and it went away. So I went and bought a jar of
miracle.
I went to the supermarket and bought a jar of it, the ginger slices, the pickled ginger.
Yeah.
I gave myself a shot and chewed on that, and I was fine. So then we started recommending that, and that's part of our routine now. I even got a couple months ago, I got a call from there's a Safeway. Am I allowed to say names? About a half a mile from my office. So we would send people. I said, they have it up at Safeway. And I got a call from the store manager there. He says, why are all these people coming in from your office? So I told him, I said, stock up. So
helping their sales, huh? You're partnering with them.
Yeah. So that's part of our routine. And that's what I mean about, putting, kind of connecting the dots. And our discontinuation rate is maybe, we probably have about over 1,000 active patients now using these types of products. But they get a meal plan with it that we had written specifically for the Medicaid to go with the medications. If they want, they get an exercise plan that goes with it. We actually have a nutritionist on board now. She lives in Florida, but we can do like we do here with Zoom. We have that. We have Michelle, doing her thing, and then you go to the font of discontent in the world today, which is Facebook. So there's a Facebook group for every grumble and malcontent in the world. So then it became all of the bad things, like Ozempic face. Well, I lost 20 pounds. Now my face is, gone. Well, what you expect, right? Then there was Ozempic finger. I like that one. Ozempic finger. Well, I lost weight and my fingers got skinnier and my rings fell off. So
that's so terrible.
It was actually in I think the Daily Mail or the New York Times. I read it somewhere that they said a new side effect from Ozempic, and so I came up with a couple of my own. I give a talk. We gave it at the last workshop. Some of it, the new face of weight loss, and at the end of it, I go through some of these things. So, and I found some pictures like Ozempic hat. So I have a picture of a little kid with a big cowboy hat, an adult cowboy hat. Ozempic blue jeans. There's that picture you've seen where I've lost weight and they pull the blue jeans out, right? And then there's Ozempic dress. So Ozempic Chicos, I call it, because you have to go to Chico's and buy a new wardrobe because you've lost weight and now your clothes don't fit.
Yeah, so now I'm angry.
these are all side effects. So, but seriously,
Dr. Clearfield.
Yeah, but seriously, so there are some severe side effects. Some people shouldn't take it. If you had medullary thyroid cancer, you're not supposed to take it. That's or in the family. And so how does one determine that? Well, the researchers give rats or mice, um, 700 times an adult dose, a human adult dose of the medication, and they develop medullary thyroid cancer. So that's now that's a no. Well, if you're going to do that, but that's the recommendation. So,
And I love that
and,
you're out there educating people too, because the thing is that it's fun that you get to make fun of these things. It's like, come on. And because there's so much research out there that even one time they were saying like omega-3 is bad. And they're like, well, where is
well,
that research
yeah,
coming from? Like, so it's good
in
to
the 80s,
understand that
and
stuff.
90s, if you look at the recommendations, right, with the low fat diet,
Yep.
avocados were no good, coconut
Oh, I
oil was no
know.
good, right?
Yeah.
Those were all no good,
It's good
right?
stuff.
But to go out and have an ice cream cake, that was okay.
Because well, I mean, if it's non-fat, if you make a non-fat ice cream,
Right,
non-fat, it's perfect.
right.
Thank
I
you
mean,
so much for being with us. So what I'm getting from this is that I think that you're a connect the dots doctor. You're
I like
always looking for the future and what is happening. You're looking at the kind of silliness of things, that because we have such a seriousness about how we treat doctors. And the thing is that when you're in the forefront and you're making changes that are, I mean, you get to work with people, you get to see the changes that are happening, and it's right, and you go with that. And that gut feeling is, we all need doctors like that out there that really understand what you're doing. I really respect and appreciate what you're doing, because people out there, we get really scared when we go to the doctor these days. Not everybody, but just people that really want to be seen and heard, want to be listened to, want to feel normal, not to feel like they're sick, but there's like, you're curious about, what's happening here. You're not really sick. Your feathers in your pillow are messing with you. I mean, like, when you have somebody like that that has your back, there's something that you get to be seen and heard. And that's another way, talk about mindset, to be able to feel like you're safe in this world. And we need more people out there like you. I appreciate you being here, spending your time here with us to share these stories. You make me laugh and smile.
thank you.
Michelle, I
Yeah,
appreciate that, all the stuff that you're doing for Dr. Clearfield and helping him get out there too with this support group. And so if you can just share for us the support group and the next date, and I'll make sure that we get the link and everything, so Dr. Clearfield gets to, create this with more and more people in his support group too.
Yeah, definitely will fill out all that information. One of the hugest things that Dr. Clearfield's doing too with the Ozempic face and the skin loose is that we have machines that will help.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
we
He
do
has everything there. It's really cool.
we can fix that. We can fix that too. And if I could just
Exactly.
throw in what Michelle, tell one plug. Every once in a while, we do get a pat on the back. I usually don't toot my own horn here, but we the best of Sierra, it has awards every year, and what we won a couple of things, didn't we?
Yeah, we won Best
Uh,
Men's Health Clinic. We won Best Weight Loss Clinic. We won you're like the best
we were second for women's
women's
health
health.
clinic, and we were in the top 3 for medical clinic in the area. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't usually, that and 15 cents won't, you can't even buy a stick of gum, but every once in a while, it's nice to get a little pat on the back.
Hey,
So
Dr.
my mother, of
Clearfield,
course,
this should be
my
on your
mother would, of course,
website.
say, what do you mean you came in second and third? Wait, you weren't first? That and those other two. What's the matter with you? You can do better.
This has been on your website, my friend. Someone does need to toot your horn. I'm glad that you have Michelle that's helping your support group. So September 26th may be your next
Yes.
support group. It's on Thursday and at 5:30 Pacific time. So anywhere around the world, it's Pacific time. So you know that. And I'll get the link to you. Thank you so much, you two. I appreciate, respect both of you. And what wonderful stories. And yeah, we'll catch up soon. Make sure you get to Dr. Clearfield support group, because he really is someone that's looking at the forefront of stuff. Appreciate you. Have a fabulous day, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Clearfield.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.